After redeeming the villain with love and preventing his descent into darkness, I was joyfully preparing for retirement. But when I woke up, the blackened villain from another timeline was standing by my bed. And the villain I had saved just happened to push open the door and walk in. They stared at each other. I clutched my head in agony. System. Fix the bug quickly. Later. My retirement plan was completely scrapped. The little villain hugged my waist with teary eyes, begging me not to leave. The big villain pressed against my neck, leaving a circle of teeth marks. I am the older brother of the male lead, Caleb. 3 years older. No blood relation. I've been by his side since I was 1. He was afraid of thunder. I held him to sleep. He was beaten. I fought back for him. He was abandoned. I took him in. I taught him, shaped his worldview, and set his moral standards. Why go to such lengths? All of this was for my own grand plan. I have a secret. I am an employee of the World Administration Bureau. The system detected that the villain in this world was too powerful and would exterminate the male and female leads in the future. So it sent me to save the villain, Caleb. As long as his blackening value reaches 0, not only can I receive a huge sum of money, but I can also welcome my retirement. A retirement life where I get paid every month for doing nothing. I work diligently, without any negligence. Finally, on Caleb's 18th birthday, as Caleb made a wish and blew out the candles, a mechanical system voice also came. Congratulations, host. The villain Caleb's blackening value has been cleared. Finally, I was ecstatic, wishing I could dance on the spot. But on the surface, I still calmly patted Caleb's head, fulfilling my duty as an adopted brother. Caleb, you're an adult now. You can't always cry. You have to be independent. Big brother can't be by your side every moment. Caleb nodded obediently. Thank you, brother. Suddenly, he asked, will brother stay with me forever? I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. Of course, brother promises you. Ate some cake as a gesture. I pulled up the quilt happily, my mind full of thoughts about retirement life. I should be able to return to the main world tomorrow. My identity will be replaced by someone from another department. Although I do have feelings for this child, I can still come back to see him with another identity. After all, having raised him for so long, I really treat him as a younger brother. The cold wind of the winter night raged, but I slept soundly with the heater on. Suddenly felt a chill on my stomach in the middle of the night. I struggled groggily to wake up. Just opened my eyelids a crack, vaguely seeing a shadow. Moving around on my chest, sleepiness pulled me down again. I didn't see clearly. The next day, I opened my eyes with satisfaction. A dreamless night. I was just about to ask the system when I could go back, but found something wrong. A figure was standing by my bed. I turned my head blankly. The features were basically identical to Caleb's, just more mature. I called out dumbly, Caleb? The man didn't respond, just hooked the corner of his mouth slightly, a hint of interest surfacing in his eyes. Just as he was about to speak, the door was pushed open. 18-year-old Caleb pushed open the door, face full of smiles. Brother, wake. I clearly saw the smile on his face drop rapidly, running over with a wary look, blocking between me and the mature Caleb. Who are you? Cold as ice. That man was taller, his temperament more composed. He stepped back slightly in his leather shoes. I am Caleb. And you? Little Caleb? Little Caleb's face showed a bit of disillusionment. He turned to look at me, looking a bit fragile. Brother, what's going on? Watching him grow up since childhood, I felt his expression was a bit strange, but I didn't think too much about it. I was also freaking out right now, frantically pinging the system. System, what's going on, Where did this male lead come from, Looks so scary. This is not the kid I can control at all. Half a moment later, the system's mechanical voice came. Host, this is the Caleb who ruined the male and female leads' families. A bug appeared in the main world, bringing Caleb from another timeline over. Be careful. This Caleb is very dangerous. I sat up immediately, reaching out to hold little Caleb's hand. Cold wind poured into my quilt. I shivered subconsciously. Little Caleb immediately took a coat and draped it over me, staring covetously at the blackened version Caleb. Blackened Caleb raised an eyebrow, looking at me strangely. Suddenly bent down and touched my face. Where did you come from? I've never seen you. Little Caleb slapped away the hand, touching me like a wolf cub. Get lost. You're the one who came from nowhere. The other Caleb wasn't in a hurry either. Dragged a chair and sat down, watching little Caleb dress me and put on my socks. He finally spoke. So, you haven't mastered the Helios network yet? Little Caleb paused. This was originally the inevitable path for the blackened Caleb, but I have been preventing him from contacting these dark things. Caleb understands himself so well. He knew just by looking at his own expression. You mastered it. What? Don't want him to know? Saying this, he cast his gaze towards me. I widened my eyes, looked at little Caleb. Caleb, didn't I say? Little Caleb lowered his eyes aggrievedly. You believe whatever he says. The angry words I wanted to say got stuck in my throat. Took a deep breath. So did you do it or not? No lying. Little Caleb didn't speak for a long time. My chest felt tight with anger. And blackened Caleb was watching the show on the stool. His expression was a bit strange yet amused. Caleb, let me talk to him. I am you. There are many things I think he doesn't want to know. Right? Little Caleb was like an enraged lion. Impossible. I'll talk to you. I glared at him, stepped out the door, and said coldly to little Caleb, stay put obediently. Then waved to the other Caleb. You come over. I was also freaking out inside. My grand retirement plan, ruined just like that. Caleb followed behind me at a leisurely pace. I could feel him sizing me up from top to bottom, like looking at some rare toy. I turned around unhappily to meet his eyes, dark and deep, completely different from little Caleb. 26-year-old Caleb was already so tall, very oppressive. I glared at him with a cold face, leading the way again. Blackened Caleb touched his nose and smiled slightly. Only then did I feel the gaze wasn't so obvious anymore. I pushed open the study door and sat down. Black and Caleb sat opposite me, with legs slightly apart. Kitten, what's your name? I ignored his teasing words, answering flatly. Adrian. His finger tapped lightly on the table a few times, suddenly said. Adrian, let's play a game, okay? Ask a question, then you ask one. How about it? You go first. I nodded in agreement. I came with the purpose of investigating him, anyway. I looked straight into his eyes and asked, how did you come to this world? Black and Caleb hooked his lips and smiled. This world? Adrian, you aren't a person of this world, are you? My heart tightened. Indeed hard to deal with. I said angrily, answer my question first. He hooked my hand as if surrendering. Okay. I woke up and was here, lying on the floor. Watched you for half a day. Didn't expect Adrian to love sleeping so much. I didn't respond. Black and Caleb widened his eyes, looking a bit expectant. So, Adrian, have you done it with that kid yet? Who? When I realized it was little Caleb, my face exploded red instantly. What are you saying? I'm just his brother. Black and Caleb chuckled lightly. With shot and freighter, and a bit of wishing iron could turn into steel. Haven't even eaten that yet. I darkened my face and asked again. Can you go back on your own? Black and Caleb shrugged. Brother, I was forced to come here. How can I go back? Saying this, he lowered his eyebrows, making a pitiful look. Looked a bit like little Caleb. But how could I be confused by his appearance? In the original plot, he was a villain who killed without blinking an eye. Caleb raised a question again. Brother, how long have you lived with the me of this world? I answered calmly. 17 years. That person muttered again. Why weren't you by my side? Saying this, he showed a smile again. Do you really understand me? Suddenly, he leaned his face close to me forcefully, as if wanting to kiss me. Brother, believe it or not, your real brother will burst in any second. Do you know how many surveillance cameras are in this house? My whole body stiffened, just wanted to resist. Suddenly, the door was flung open forcefully. Little Caleb stood at the door, pursing his lips. He looked coldly at our actions, took a big step forward and pulled Black and Caleb away. Face looked calm, but actions were ruthless. Raised hand and punched the other Caleb hard. I heard the sound of fist hitting cheek flesh. Black and Caleb naturally wouldn't show weakness either. Raised foot and kicked. Watching the two punch each other several times, little Caleb fell into a disadvantage. After all, he was still young. In chaos, I smashed the vase on the table forcefully. A tiny fragment grazed my cheek, leaving a thin blood trail. The huge bang brought the sanity of these two guys back. I looked at these two coldly. "What are you doing, huh?" The study was thick with the scent of ozone and spilled floral water. Little Caleb was breathing hard, his knuckles split and bleeding, while the older, blackened Caleb wiped a smear of blood from his lip with a terrifyingly graceful thumb. He didn't look angry. He looked like he'd just discovered a new, exquisite form of entertainment. "Look at what you've done," I hissed, my voice trembling not with fear, but with the sheer exhaustion of my failed retirement. I pointed to the blood on my cheek. "Is this what 17 years of moral standards gets me? Violence in my own study." Little Caleb's face crumpled instantly. The enraged lion vanished, replaced by the boy who used to hide under my covers during thunderstorms. He lunged toward me, his hands hovering over my face, afraid to touch the scratch. "Brother, Adrian, I'm sorry. I didn't mean he was touching you, I was merely getting acquainted with our shared history," the older Caleb interrupted, straightening his charcoal silk tie. He walked toward us, the click of his leather shoes sounding like a countdown. He ignored the younger version of himself and stared directly at the scratch on my face. His eyes darkened, a swirling abyss of possessiveness that made my skin crawl. A shame. Such a pretty face shouldn't be marked by such clumsy tantrums. He reached out, and before little Caleb could slap his hand away, he pressed his thumb firmly against the cut. The sting made me flinch, but he didn't let go. He leaned in, whispering so only I could hear, "If you were mine in my timeline, Adrian, I wouldn't let you bleed. I'd let the world bleed for you instead." I pushed them both back, my heart hammering against my ribs. "System." I screamed internally. "This bug is going to kill me before I ever see a pension check." Host, stay calm. The data shows that while Blackened Caleb is aggressive, his obsession value for you is currently off the charts. He perceives you as the missing piece of his soul. As for little Caleb, his blackening value is fluctuating. If you favor the older one, the younger one will turn into a monster. If you favor the younger one, the older one will burn the world down to take you back. So, I'm a human stabilizer? I wanted to cry. "Adrian," little Caleb said, his voice dropping to a low, jagged plea. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, burying his face in the crook of my neck. I could feel him trembling. "Don't look at him. He's everything you told me not to be. He's cold, he's cruel, he's a killer. Don't let him stay." Across from us, the 26-year-old Caleb let out a dry, melodic laugh. He sat back on the edge of the desk, crossing his long legs. "A killer? Little me, you're currently hacking the National Security Database to install hidden cameras in Adrian's bathroom. Don't pretend you're a saint just because you still have a curfew." I froze. "The bathroom, Caleb?" Little Caleb's grip tightened until I could barely breathe. I just wanted to make sure you were safe. You're so clumsy you might slip." "Enough," I shouted, the thin thread of my sanity finally snapping. "Both of you, out, now." I thought locking myself in my room would work. I was wrong. At 2 a.m., the door clicked open. I didn't even have to look to know which one it was. The air grew heavy, the scent of expensive tobacco and rain filling the room. Blackened Caleb sat on the edge of my bed, the mattress sinking under his weight. "He's asleep in the hallway like a loyal dog," he whispered, his hand sliding under the covers to find my ankle. "Such a waste of potential. You turned a god into a servant, Adrian." "Why?" "I turned a monster into a human," I snapped, trying to kick him away. He moved faster, pinning my legs with his own and crawling over me until he was hovering inches from my lips. His eyes were predatory, ancient. In my world, I had everything. Power, money, a throne of bones. But it was empty. I didn't know why until I saw you sleeping this morning. You were the thing I was looking for in every person I broke. He leaned down, his teeth grazing the sensitive skin of my neck, right over my pulse. He didn't kiss me. He marked me, a sharp nip that made me gasp. I'm not going back, Adrian. And I'm not sharing. Get off him. The door was kicked in for the second time that day. Little Caleb didn't use his fists this time. He was holding a heavy tranquilizer gun, likely something he'd acquired from his dark network. Step away from my brother, little Caleb hissed, his eyes glowing with a terrifying, cold light. He's mine. I raised him. No, he raised me. We belong to each other. You're just a ghost. A ghost who knows exactly how to make him moan, little me. The older Caleb taunted, his hand sliding up my thigh under my pajamas. The chaos that followed was a blur of silk, skin, and desperate possession. The older Caleb stripped my shirt with a single, violent tug, his mouth finding mine in a kiss that tasted of fire and stolen years. He wasn't gentle. He was a man who had waited a lifetime for a ghost to become flesh. Little Caleb, driven to the brink of madness, didn't shoot. He dropped the gun and lunged onto the bed, his hands finding my waist, pulling me toward him even as the older version of himself pushed into my heat. Adrian, look at me. Little Caleb sobbed, his lips finding the other side of my neck. I'm the one who loves you. I'm the one who stayed. Don't let him take you. I was trapped between them. Two versions of the same obsession. The older Caleb's movements were experienced, slow, and agonizingly thorough, his body a wall of hard muscle that brooked no resistance. He filled me with a primal force that made my mind go white, while little Caleb clung to my chest, his mouth frantic on my skin, his tears wetting my collarbone. You're ours, the older Caleb groaned against my ear, his pace quickening as he hit the spot that made my toes curl. In every timeline, in every universe, you are the villain's only mercy. Little Caleb reached down, his fingers tangling with the older Caleb's as they both claimed me. The sensation was overwhelming, a dual assault on my senses that shattered my big brother persona into a million jagged pieces. I wasn't their teacher anymore. I was their anchor, their prize, and their ruin. As the room spun and the stars outside blurred, I realized the system was wrong. The blackening value hadn't reached zero. It had just found a new target. Me. Adrian. They both whispered in unison, their voices a perfect, haunting harmony as they reached their peak. I fell into the darkness, the last thing I felt being the double weight of the man I had saved and the man I had inadvertently created. Retirement was a dream. This was my reality, a gilded cage with two keys, and two Calebs who would never let me go.